So as we were talking about, like how the firms like the services firms like TCS, Infosys pave the way for professionals who have started their own ventures and moved to the product side. And largely, it's a matter of choice for firms like TCS, Infosys to stay in the services business. So now is the time to move on and understand your journey into moving from TCS to FY91. I was super excited to know how FY91 is trying to connect and be different from the already existing airlines. And while initially I thought in terms of when I saw your profile, I could think that Fly91 would be another services organization specifically focused on travel, transportation, and hospitality space. But that's not the case. So if any one of you feels interested to check out, they own two ATR 600 airplanes, 78-seater capacity. So Prasanna, over to you. How did you move to the aviation space, and why you thought to move towards an airline? You could have moved to more established airlines. So why this particular airline, and what's the backstory? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So there are two parts to this question. Now, why I moved out of TCS and why I joined Fly91, right? See, for me, TCS joining in the year 2010 Feb, and until 2022, I was with TCS. And in that, from 2013 to 2022, I was in Japan. So almost 9+ years I was in Japan. And for me, there are again two aspects when I worked for TCS in Japan. Japan is such a wonderful country, okay, that I feel like it's a second home. Now, because, having spent close to a decade there, the quality of life you have there, the kind of comfort that you have, you might have popularly heard, if the bullet train comes 1 minute late, they apologize over the speaker and they bow down and then they say, we are extremely sorry for the inconvenience caused. That's a kind of a land that Japan is. And for me, TCS, staying there with the TCS for the last 9+ years in TCS Japan, it's like, I started off when TCS was kind of, I don't know, a few hundreds of people there. And by the time when I left, there were close to 5,000 plus people. So I was like, part of that very small, vibrant team that grew together when TCS also went to multiple scales. So it was like TCS and Japan, it's like a home ground for me. Okay. And especially I started off as a developer. I moved into a techno BA role. I did project management. I did portfolio management. I did pre-sales. I did the complete delivery management, handling performance management, on-site, offshore, multiple customers, discussions, handling innovations for the customers and all those stuff. What could I have asked more? So when I was about 2021, later half of it, I started realizing that I'm becoming super busy. I like to work. I like to deliver a lot. And I kind of realized that I became super busy. And, I just took 2 steps back, analyzing myself, my career, where I started, where I am today when compared with all others in the industry, and what is that I wanted to do. See, because I was always sure that I don't want to be sucked out in the flow that it is taking me. Rather, I wanted to have control on what is happening. I'm a that kind of a personality. And that's when I started realizing that, okay, when I looked around, I thanked that I am super fortunate to have come to this kind of a role, managing multi-million dollars so early in the career. While my counterparts, my friends who had joined with me, and they could still be in the role, where they are happy to do it. But for me, I have already elevated into multiple different roles, and I was leading a very, very large team, a decision maker on the customer side as well, having a lot of influence and all those stuff. So I thought I'm happy with this. I was super happy that I got into that position. So when I look back, I thought the next few years, I will be super happy doing the same thing, but will I be able to see the growth that I wanted to do? Because when I was close to some 10 years of experience, I started believing in myself that someday I should be in a suite of role. But I still didn't know what sort of a CXO I should be. Should I be a CEO or a CTO or a CIO? To be honest, I didn't even know the differentiation of that. What is what? But I just dreamt, okay, we will be into that role one day. So let's start working for that. Let's at least start working. So that's why I started thinking, where am I today? So I kind of realized that if I can continue doing the same what I was doing in TCS for the next 10, 15 years, there is no challenge to me. I can stay in Japan itself. I can continue doing whatever I want. But is that what I wanted to do? I had already done that. Now, what next in my life stage is what I wanted to take control. So I thought spending time in TCS would take a lot of time for me to reach the goals that I wanted to have. So that's when, with all the gratitude for TCS, I took a very, very bold decision to move out. Because, as I told you, TCS Japan is my home ground. Whatever I want to make it happen, I can do that. I had the liberty, I had the playground to do it. I thought, no, I will get into the comfort zone doing the same thing because, no more new challenges. it's the usual day in and day out a delivery problem or a pre-sales problem, which I have learned the art of solving that. What's new in solving that again? So I thought I will move out. It was a very, very tough decision. And for my family as well, it was such a tough decision because, as I told you, moving out of Japan and moving out of TCS, I thought I may retire in TCS Japan. I was that kind of a guy early in the career. But then later, I decided family also supported. So then what next? I kind of understood that if I have to go and join, a similar type of company, yes, I attended interviews, in the equal category of the companies. I got placed as well. But again, I thought, again to go and work in the same company, I could have continued in TCS itself, being my home ground. But then I thought I have to go and join a mid-sized organization where I can feed my hunger as well for the next level of challenges that I was expecting. So that's where I joined Robosoft. I quit TCS in 2022 June. Then I immediately joined Robosoft Technologies, which is a mid-sized organization. The parent organization is a Japanese conglomerate. So I know the conglomerate, and that's when I decided to join Robosoft. So I was heading Japan and Middle East for the strategic accounts and all those stuff there. I was briefly there for a year, and that's when Fly91 interestingly came up. I know the founder; it was just a mutual connect. But then one thing that I always like is what I know. I don't hesitate to share it with others. Okay, wherever I go. So I was trying to, because as part of my TCS career in Japan, I had also helped set up two low-cost international carriers from the scratch as well. So, and, heavily into the pre-sales, heavily into the technology and development. I knew the landscape very well, just that I'm not a complete airline business person per se, but I've, understood the nitty-gritties of that and what sort of technology, what sort of systems that you need to have in place. So I was happily sharing all that I know for Fly91 with the founder. And that's when all the final licenses and approvals came. That's when Manoj and I had a discussion, and then when this was offered to me, I was quite happy with it. But then this now coming to the second part of your question. So the first question, why I moved out of TCS, is because I really understood that if I had continued for 2 more years, I would have ended up in a comfort zone. Then I would be retiring in TCS Japan only, which I didn't want to do. I want to move out of my comfort zone and see what else is there in the world of technology. And why I decided to join Fly91 is, yes, as you said, India is a graveyard for airlines. There is a famous joke, billionaires start airlines to become millionaires. But keeping aside, I thought why I wanted to join Fly91 is, see, because of late, doing all those large-scale transformation programs, doing latest of the tech stacks and developments, I kind of understood the potential that we have. While we are exporting IT to the world, and that's when the UPI-based, payments, it was becoming the norm for us. What India has done in terms of Aadhaar, the back-end technology, the kind of complex architectures that we have built, ONDC. So India was also undergoing a lot of digital transformation on the government initiatives. That every initiative that the government of India takes, it touches billion lives. I was always in awe of, oh my God, what a massive digital transformation that India is doing, that we can be so proud of, even knowing about it, even, studying about it. So when this Fly91 came up, I thought, that was a moment where I was about to go back to Japan back. Okay. So almost the next week I have to go back to Japan as part of my engagement. So then these discussions happened. So I thought when this opportunity came, I thought to myself, buddy, you can go back to Japan at any point of time. Any in the next opportunity, I can go to any part of the world because I have the confidence of going and getting a job elsewhere. If this is not going to work, but why I wanted to join is for two reasons. Now, having understood the impact of what UPI did, Aadhaar did, ONDC did, I thought now from a services company, I'm getting a chance to be at the customer side. I have done a lot of teachings to my customers saying, buddy, you have to do this. I'm the strategic consultant, right? So I have preached a lot. I thought this is the time where you have to walk the talk. Are you ready to do it? While I know I've been so disappointed early that, I'm really saying in the benefit of the customer, but somehow, that is not working out. They decided not to move ahead with that. While personally, I know that would have been a great value add for them. So I thought this is a time where whatever you think is the best of the things that you have to do, here is a firm, go ahead, do it. There is nobody to question you. Do it in the best possible ways. Number one, I get the chance to do it. And number two, I also realized whatever I do, see, this is a pure play regional airline, and I'm going to be responsible for all the systems, let it be for my internal employees, for my customers, to the government facing and all those stuff. So my mark is going to be there in every single thing that Fly91 is going to do. And what UPI did, what other. So I wanted to have the content of saying that whatever I do in terms of IT, it will go and have a positive influence for my employees, for my customers. And I want to really work hard in delivering that positive, meaningful digital intervention for all these people. So I just kind of visualized, how great that would be when you go to bed, that thinking, that patting yourself, that yes, it was a very tough day, but you and your team did the best job that you can do. So I wanted to really feel that content, and third thing, personally also, I love taking risk. I love taking calculated risk. It is not a blindfolded risk. I love taking calculated risk. While I know airline industry, has been a very notorious industry in the past, but I had complete faith and trust because the management in Fly91 is an absolute professional management. Every HOD here is coming from their own subject matter expertise, and the founder and the co-founder also absolute professionals who have been veterans into this industry. And so I trusted them. Of course, I did my own discussions with them, very open-hearted discussions with them. What is that, X, Y, Z, and all those stuff. And I kind of build that trust. You see, when you want to take decision, right, trust helps you to make the right decision. So I invested my time in building that relationship and trust. And then I thought, I can go back to Japan, or I can go to any part of the world the day that I decide that I want to go. I can always go ahead and do that. But this is a chance where, see, 2 years before I dreamt that, I should be in the executive suite of role. But today it is happening. It has come to you. So will you be a fool not to accept this? And while I was also a little bit hesitant and afraid to take up this role, see, because though I have done multi-million-dollar transformations, bigger customers, very hectic work schedule, but to be a CTO is altogether a different thing. See, because there are so many gray areas that I do not know, right? I'm not a master of everything. Technology changes a lot. And when we speak about the airline, though I have delivered few set of systems, there are certain systems that I've never worked. I used to jokingly say to my founders and my team that I just know the spelling of what you want. And then we learned it together as a team, and then I just took it as a challenge. So today, if you ask me, the calculated risk that I took, the trust that I built, every bit of it was absolute worthy of it. And I really, every day when I get up, I'm so pumped up thinking, what challenge am I going to solve today? What is a new learning that I'm going to have today and solve today? Gone were the days where, see, working for the services firm, right? It's always the customer drives, when the customer decides to escalate, yeah, they escalate. When the customer is happy, they are happy, even though you are not personally happy because you know that you have not done your best, but the customer is happy. Okay, fine. But here, yeah, I do a lot of stuff. Do I fail? Yes, I fail, but I'm not afraid to make those attempts. But in the service firm, no, I don't have the liberty to go attempt fail because customer is paying for it. I just have to do whatever it makes to make that successful. But here, as I told you, every day is a new challenge, and working with an absolute professional management, it makes a lot of difference. Where you have the room to explain yourself, decide, go ahead. It's okay to make a mistake, learn your mistakes, and then go ahead from there. So these are the two part of the questions that I hope I answered you, Ankur.
Yes, Prasanna. You answered very well, very open-heartedly. My question, and I would request a brief answer from you, though you have touched certain bits and pieces of it, is how the role in Fly91 particularly different from that you were working at TCS in terms of the you mentioned there are a lot of gray areas which while would have been there at TCS as well, but there you were a team of people, and here it is you who need to sit and think on those things, and then tell your team that you also need to think. So if I'm able to understand it right, there four people are thinking autonomously and then coming together. Here you need to think first and then tell them that maybe you need to think this part of it and you need to think this part of it. Am I right here?
Yeah, of course. See, the major difference, working for the services firm is customer drives what you have to do. They decide the outcome as well, and that is why they pay you. So it is like, your environment is boxed. Within that box, you have the liberty of how you're delivering it with a fantastic quality, ahead of the timeline, no issues, keeping them very happy, taking the workload away from them, and all those stuff. So basically, we know the problem. It's a defined problem where we define the scope of work very clearly with them. Sometimes scope creep could be there, but the scope creep will be in the same project, bits and pieces here and there. 2 months of timeline will get into 3 months, or it's such a year-long project that you get to absolutely focus only working on that year-long project. So basically, your problem statements are defined as per your SOW and as per your duration of the scope of work. You don't get a chance to work outside that, number one. And number two, you don't get a lot of chances to be with the customer itself, trying to live the life of the customer. Okay, because as a customer, they do 100 different activities. Yes, you may be sitting there and discussing 50 items, but not always 100% of the items. So basically, you're bounded by how your customer is treating you, how your customer wants you to work. Okay, and the responsibility is huge there because you're representing an organization like TCS, Infosys there, and you got to be absolutely careful. You can't work with your own individual whims and fancies there, because at the end of the day, you're representing a brand. Okay, so there are boundaries there, and when you deliver it successfully there, yes, you get appreciation within the organization, and customer also appreciates, and then you move forward to the next set of projects and all those stuff. So you have your own hits and misses. But here, in Fly91, see, whenever people come to me with a problem statement, so we start with the problem statement. Oh, okay, you need this. All right, let me come back to you. So where I go back to the team, we go to the drawing room and then say, buddy, this is the problem. What are we supposed to do? What do we do? Do we understand the problem statement? Do a whiteboarding, a lot of stuff. We come with the solution. Now, what jokingly I used to say is, for every solution that we come forward, right, the business users will always have 100 problem statement for the solution. Oh, this will not work in this way. This will not work in this way. All those stuff. So the challenge here is not, for me, the challenge in TCS was to deliver within the scope, within the timeline, within the quality, everything is fixed there. Okay. But here, whatever you try to deliver, 10 new problem statements will come. People will not be ready to accept that. Okay. Saying, no, in my previous organization, I worked in this way and that way. So this is a humongous challenge. We always call people, process, technology. Services firm, they help to solve all these three in three different ways, three different verticals, three different buckets. But here, I have to solve all three. I am the one who has to solve. When you as a business user come to me as a CTO, I don't just jump into the solution of how to solve it, not the technology part of solve it. The very first question that I ask is, explain me your way of working. What is happening? No, help me to visualize the problem. Okay, because visualizing the problem, understanding the problem helps you to solve the problem 50%. Okay, that helps me to define whether it is a people problem or it is a process problem. So most of the time, I try to handle it with the people, with the process first. Then when it is not able to solve there, then the technology part comes to it. Okay. So as a CTO, my way of working today is I should be the most happiest one to get a lot of budget in building systems in for my own whims and fancies. No, that is not the way to go. You will just end up having a lot of digital crap, meaningless crap. So the ultimate goal for my team is to have meaningful digital intervention. Okay. And for that, try to solve it with the people first. If not, the processes next. If not, the digital. And when it comes to digital also, it has to be, we are treating like, I used to tell Manoj, see, this has to run like a IT organization, just that we are flying aircrafts here. Okay. Everything else should be driven from the perspective of IT, because we are a firm believer of, as an organization, you just have three pillars. How do you increase your revenue? How do you decrease, or how do you optimize your cost? How do you increase your efficiencies? Now, increasing your employee efficiencies will either result in an increase in the revenue through somehow, or in the cost optimization. These are the three pillars. Now, back in the services firm, the problem statement is given. We try to fit this into any of these. Now, I sit in the top of the pyramid to decide if I have 50 different problem statements. We have our own way of effort versus impact matrix to do an analysis, which department of activities we should do. So today, me sitting on the customer side, I've got a lot of liberty to decide which problem statement I will take first. To decide that itself, we apply a strategical framework to say, out of the 50 problem statements, which are the top 5 problem statements that I have to solve within this timeline. And once we decide that, do I have the skill set, or should I be going outside? Do I have the enough budget? Do I think that we will be able to deliver this without a delay on this? And have I secured my end users time slot to sit with me to do the discussions, validate once we build the product and all those stuff? So the difference is, first thing, I'm walking the talk of whatever I have done in the past. Whatever preachings that I have done, I am realizing, some of the preachings really did not make sense. Now I understand the pain. This is more of a practical lessons that I'm learning. I get to decide the priorities. And see, if I have taken 5 problems out of the 50, that doesn't matter, that it doesn't mean that nobody's going to question me. All the remaining 45 problem statements, stakeholders, see, because for them, it is equally important, right? So they used to come poke me like anything. Hey, why am I not getting this? Why am I not getting this? They used to get frustrated. So it is also my responsibility to keep talking to them, explaining them why it is not coming now. Until then, how you can solve that process using a workaround process. So my job does not end just by solving those prioritized 5. My job is also to take care of the 45, to go and see, until I pick up this, what could be the workaround processes, what could be the workaround ways they have, how do you document it? Because I don't want people to work in, the way that they want to work. At the end of the day, everything has to be audited. So that's why, as I said, yesterday we might have decided these are the 5 things that we are going to work. Tomorrow when I go to office, I don't know what problem statement is going to come that will supersede all these 5 priorities, while the commitments have already been made to those teams. So that's why it's what I have realized is, and that too being, this is not an established firm where all the systems are built. Like, we are still in the stage of building systems in a phased manner. Whatever is important, that will come first. Then that goes into the stabilization. Well, that is into the stabilization. A parallel pipeline will be built for the new systems. And we can't build, as I told you, a typical airline will have 250 plus applications. How is it humanly possible for me and my team to build all those things on day one? So that is why
Prasanna,
every day we go.
yeah.
Yeah.
So two questions as I poke you in between. First is as you mentioned, all the preachings don't work. So give our listeners some experiences of XYZ preachings which you think actually don't work, or do you think that you tried this a bit, you did a beta version of this, and this doesn't work? So that's one. And second, how is Fly91 and some of your initiatives different from those of the existing airlines? You can prefer not to name the airlines, but share with the users how, if they get the chance to experience Fly91, if they choose to do that, what specific and new experiences they can basically you have in store for them.
Yeah, sure. See, a couple of examples that if I can take, right? While when the customers used to come to us stating the problem statement, we always try to add value to the problem statements. Yes, of course, the scope of the work is going to solve that original problem that they say, but we as consultants will also say, hey, you know what, these XYZ problems can also be added to that, and we can solve along with this itself. While the intent is really good, the impact of that is the moment you start adding more scope, of course, there will be a budget creep as well that may happen. While the customers may have already agreed internally saying this is going to cost X amount of dollars. Now, by adding value, it may be ending up with X plus Y for which they don't have the budget approval. And organizations generally used to say that, it's a year-long budget that we have already approved that now we cannot go. So for us, we used to think that, from our point of view, it's a value add that we try to bring. If at all you try to build this separately, it would be, a totally separate effort. But if you join along with this, it would be a reduced effort. The amount is not going to be as like the original amount. But then when the customers have said no to that, right, probably I might not have understood their way of working internally as customers, and sometimes I've felt disappointed. But right now, oh my God, every day I know my budget. Okay, this is the budget that I have already got. It is limited. It cannot be dynamic. Once you made your plan, once you have had a lot of discussions, you have made a cautious decision that this is going to be my budget, and then I'm going to live with it. Now, how do you live within the budget? Now I understand the pain of my previous customers. That though I know that yes, this is a fantastic value add, this is the great time, this is the right time that we should be building it, but it is going to exceed. No, I cannot do it. Number one. Number two, even if I have the budget, okay, can I still take it and develop it? See, because what I have also understood is you can always preach that doing 10 things in parallel will work for you. But now when I sit at the customer side, for me, prioritization is super important. Back then, I used to think that you don't worry, I will bring enough people from TCS to solve all the problems. Now I realize that it's just 50% of solving the problems. Who on the customer side will be responsible to take all these additional tasks as well? Because you just don't only fix the budget, you also fix the manpower. Now, how much more your manpower can do? They can handle one project at a time, couple of projects, or max 3 projects at a time. Just by taking in the name of value add, if you're going to take 10 different things, your manpower is also fixed. You can't burn out the team as well. So these are two quick examples that I think, from a strategic perspective, that yes, it's always nice to do a lot of things in parallel because it helps you later to solve money, manpower, and all those stuff. But at the same time, that I've understood that if you're doing 3 things as a priority, focus doing only those 3 things. Take the 4th thing and the 5th thing once you finish this. Never ever take the 4 and 5 in parallel, because what will happen is your attention gets diverted. It doesn't matter when the service vendor is giving us enough manpower, but at the end, I know how much bandwidth I have. Then we will end up not delivering the 1, 2, 3 as well. It's like, half-cooked items. We have 5 different items. Nothing got, into the production. So that is a very, very important lesson that I have learned, Ankur. And second thing, how Fly91 is building stuff differently from the rest of the airlines, right? Yeah. See, that's again an interesting question, a very personal question for me, because why that will answer why I joined Fly9. See, first, I worked in my first year of experience with probably the top 5 of the global distribution customers in the world. Then my second airline customer was, top 10 airlines across the globe from Asia Pacific. Then the other 2 airlines that I worked also, probably they should be in the top 20 airlines across the globe. Okay. The kind of exposure that I had, the kind of solutions that TCS to such global customers had delivered, the oath that I took, I will not deliver anything lesser than what TCS has delivered for those top 10 or top 20, airline customers. It will be either on par with that or it will be one notch above. Okay. And I'm supremely happy that it is exactly the same way that we are driving it in Fly91. If you look at the IT solutions, they will not look like a product or an application that was built for a super domestic regional airline. No. Today, I can tell you that if I have to pull out this as a product or as a platform, and I'll have to deliver it to the customers that I have worked before, I can close my eyes confidently saying that yes, it will work. That's it. That's the confidence that I want to give in terms of what we are building. Number one. And number two, see, for any business that has to scale, right, it has to be technology driven. I always like companies like Zomato, Uber, Ola, for the fact that they could be in the space of delivering food orders or delivering as a cab aggregator and all those stuff. See, there is just one phase of what they do. They are completely driven by technology. How is it humanly possible to touch billion lives by the likes of Zomato or Swiggy? Technology powers that business. Technology helps any business to scale instantly, to drive more revenue, to do vertical integration, horizontal integration, to go into the value chain integration and all those stuff. So that is why for me the goal is right now we should have had 4 aircrafts, but due to the supply chain issues, the couple of aircrafts that we'll be taking will be there in the month of January, Feb, and March. It'll be followed upon. So for me, the moment we start going into the tier 2 and tier 3, we know these are hugely populated places. I need to have a very robust system, a very scalable system, because the day when I induct an aircraft, so easily 4 or 5 airport stations, new airport stations that we'll be opening up, that is thousands and lakhs of people who will have access to our system. So the system that we build has to be so robust from a customer point of view. It has to be scalable from a point of view. So we don't want to do any stuff manually. Right from day one, even if it is going to take a few months of additional time, it is okay. Have the difficulty at the initial phases, build the digital systems so that 1 year down the lane, you have a very clean slate of having only digital systems. Okay. For example, an example, if I have to give you, I have seen airlines for more than a decade or even 12 to 13 years of experiences going into operations completely Excel sheets based. Okay, on the revenue space, on the onboard services where the cabin crew, usually they sell buy on board, the complete catering management and all those stuff. I can tell you within going live of 6 to 7 months, we had a perfectly working digital system for the complete end-to-end catering, the digital, onboard, punching every sale, the end-to-end, basically seeing the passenger data, integrating with the roster, schedule, and all those stuff. And similarly, revenue. See, because we have people who have worked with, in this industry for quite a number of years, right? So we had all those digital systems because for me, those are very, very important from, driving revenue, driving efficiency. In the first year, while cost optimization can be there, but, we need to have certain lessons to say where we go wrong. For that, we need to have data. For that, we need to have systems in place. So, while 2 or 3 things, number one, whatever we build, it is nothing lesser quality. It is at least on par with the number 1, 2, 3 or top 5 services company that may build and deliver to their customer, or even one notch above. And the pace with which we deliver, it is definitely much better. Okay, because I exactly control. See, now one good thing that I wanted to tell is from TCS and what I have implemented in an organization like Fly91. I know exactly where my customers went wrong. So if 10 things that I'm doing in Fly91, it would be 6 or 7 things that what mistakes my customers did that I'm not doing here. So it automatically helps me to accelerate.
Yes, definitely. Your experience is coming in. As you mentioned, the catch for me, the most important catch for me is you are having a digital playbook that is being built in terms of what are you doing, so that what you can measure, and it is rightly said, what you can improve and you can measure. As the things are being in the digital space, you will be able to measure, because there are a couple of interesting things that are there in the space. Like if we call out in-cabin flight management or waste management, food management, all such things, which the airlines are now moving using this digital tools. You are starting with the digital tools. So Prasanna, this was the time we had for today. Thanks for joining us. Thank you all the viewers for joining in. I believe you like knowing about his journey from TCS to Fly91 and how his role has moved or changed, and which has been a strategic choice by him when he tried to see himself in a C-suite role when he was not very sure whether it would be CTO, CIO, CEO. But today he is sitting in the chair of CTO. And thank you, Prasanna, for your insights across how the IT services has evolved and how your particularly role evolved from that of TCS to Fly91. Thank you, everyone. And let's stay connected and do follow my YouTube channel and WhatsApp channel for more updates. Thank you.